the level of your transparency will determine the level of your transformation. And I'm going to say it for me too. The level of my transparency has determined the level of my transformation.
Oh,
So there's that thing that anybody can have where it's like, it's really hard to say it. Like everything in your, everything negative, like that little devil that's sitting on your shoulder, that's how they show it in cartoons,
right.
is trying to prevent you from saying that out loud. Because if you expose that shadow out loud, now the light is on it and it can be transmuted. It's a tiny seed in the very beginning. It's like there's seeds of faith, but then there's also these seeds of doubt and destruction as well, or seeds of, the opposite of what you want that are like the weeds in the garden of your mind. So it's just super important to protect your soul.
Whew. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance, right? That's what we like to
That's it.
say. Yeah. Well, and
I'm
as
a
you get
farmer, so I know it never stops. The
it never
pests,
stops.
the
Gotta
the
keep pulling
the
weeds.
weeding, the deer. Oh man, if you don't manage your garden, it'll get overrun by something.
Yep. And along that same analogy, it just takes that tending. It takes and working with what season you're in. When you're
Right,
in winter, you're not trying to plant, right?
right,
So you got to know what to do in each season, similar to the work and these archetypes. And like when we're in the king season, we're doing king shit.
right.
And we're bringing order to our kingdom. And that was something else I heard you say that really has been the foundation or bedrock of the king energy is there's got to be order. There's got to be what I bring to that to be that like stable energy. And we saw that a lot, I believe, this last weekend too, with men, not just from a financial standpoint and being that provider, but really holding the boundaries. We talked a lot about
Right.
standards. We talked a lot about boundaries, right? Core values, all these things that your decision making as a king and having those defined. And how often
Absolutely.
men don't have their standards defined, don't have their boundaries defined. And those of you listening, I'm using my hands to show like the standards being the floor, the boundaries being the walls. So that's your etherical kingdom, right? And then order in your own home, your physical home. That's your as a king. That's your first kingdom right now. So we talked about that, and ultimately, and there's a little buffet of choice for you. We also talked about the king's blessing and receiving blessing in this overflowing cup, because so men are just constantly giving out of a cup that's empty, right?
Right.
And feeling overwhelmed, stressed, tired, all the things, and reclaiming their joy. That was the claim I saw a lot of too, is finding this joy again so that they can give from an overflowing cup. So those are a few of the themes I saw. I'm curious your any insights on those or something else that is popping for you.
Yeah, I'll speak to boundaries because I see boundaries and blessings being connected, because when boundaries aren't held, that's when the cup does begin to empty out and not being able to give from an overflow. And I love the physicality of our immersions from the standpoint of being able to work out, but also King of the Ring is something that we do where we get to push each other around a little bit, and we're brothers, so we're not trying to hurt each other, but definitely trying to move energy.
Men need to be often pushed physically to respond emotionally. Women are the other way. Like they respond emotionally first and then physically is my experience. So men, it takes a lot to break into that. And you have to have a physical component, and how we do that, whether it's working out, whether it's King of the Ring style stuff, whether it's combatives, boxing, there's something that you have to do to break through that. Now, the goal is to be able to access those feelings otherwise, but yeah, there has to be some resistance, specifically as you're mentioning for that man. It was like it allowed him to actually feel his power in a positive way where he wasn't consumed by how people were pushing him around, but he's actually doing it from an empowered place. So you
Right.
said, I don't know how the
And
brain works.
he was pushing some people around.
He was,
It was
oh, he
actually,
was the one that
I got hip tossed myself.
he was the one that demanded we do it, right?
Yeah, man.
He knew the medicine he needed.
Making your
Yeah.
expectations clear, so that you can inspect what you expect. And one of the areas that I love that I got it right here. I love that we got these
Oh
workbooks to
yeah.
really
Show up
get in
those
there.
notebooks for the people watching.
Oh yeah. What is your code? What is my code of conduct? And
Yeah.
these are honestly things I don't know what percentage of the earth has done it, but I know it's 5% or less, 2% or less that has a written code of conduct to align your life to. And I know they probably can't see it that well, but
Yeah.
what's your king's code? what's your soul style. These are the things that will allow you to say what you will and won't
Right.
tolerate in your life.
You got to define
And
it
people
ahead
need
of
to know
time.
about it so they can so that they can abide by it or suffer the consequence, which may be no more access to you, or just whatever that consequence is. My number one boundary breacher is myself. How many times do I say, "Hey, I'm gonna fast," or "I'm gonna do this," or "I'm gonna do that," and I'm gonna wait another day, or I can,
Raising my
let
hand.
me amend that. Let me amend that commitment just a little bit because I'm uncomfortable or because it's inconvenient. And so, resolving conflict in oneself without being too sharp, even with oneself. We did at the immersion. It came up a couple of different ways, and it always comes up. How are you talking to yourself, and what are the things that you're saying to yourself? Sometimes you're putting those daggers in more than whatever family member
Yep.
was doing it. So resolving internal conflict and then resolving external conflict in a healthy way. We got to see that played out where there was a clear antagonist, and they were able to come to terms with the fact that they were projecting and that there was internal conflict in them that they were pushing out onto another person. And we got to see that person stand up and hold a boundary. And there was times in that where it seemed like they were going to let it slide and not really hold it to the intensity that it needed to be.
Men need support. We got to untrain the part of us that says we not only don't need help but won't ask for help. That's being too proud. So that's a huge takeaway as a king. I love that. Well, man, I as I said at the beginning, this is definitely not the last of Trey Ford on this Ignite the King podcast. Thank you. Your wisdom has been extraordinary. Let everyone know out there where they can find you. You're involved in a lot of different projects. Black Films Matter, Duval Soil and Water, St. John's River Keepers.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find you and the work that you're doing in the world?